Don't forget to check out these new and interesting Indian books. As much as it's important to indulge in classics, it's necessary also to read some new books. So, what are some new Indian books that are potential good reads? I spent a few hours just digging through some new releases, and here's a list of Indian books I find most interesting. First of all, let's just get done with the author who really holds the heart of so many Indian readers, Durjoy Datta. He's a consistent writer who continues to publish contemporary romance novels. The unique thing about his writing is he is actually trying to hone his craft and continues to get better. His stories feel fresh and genuine. I started reading his books in 2010, and I guess I still pick up his books every once in a while. And yes, I truly feel this to be true. His latest book, World's Best Girlfriend, just came out in September. Who remembers The World's Best Boyfriend? I read that book years ago. Unfortunately, I don't remember much from that reading experience, but this new book definitely piqued my interest. A girl who's trying hard to escape the shackles of a lower middle class life and an aimless boy meet in a posh resort in Andaman. After probably some holiday romance, they part ways only to meet again 4 years later. Just this, it has definitely got me interested. Add this to my TBR. Done. Back in July this year, the famous Amitav Ghosh also released his memoir/travelogue, Smoke and Ashes. Amitav Ghosh is a famous literary fiction author in India. His Ibis trilogy, The Calcutta Chromosome, and many more books are world famous. For me, I have never read his books. I do own some of his books which are laying somewhere on my dusty bookshelf back in India. Sigh. I also feel like my personal reading has to evolve to indulge in his books. At this time, when I'm merely looking for some simple feel-good books, I am not up for the challenge of reading Amitav Ghosh. Someday I'll do that. Until then, you'll tell me how Smoke and Ashes if you pick it up. It's definitely a must-try for the fans of Ibis trilogy. I personally stay away from reading religious books or even spiritual books. Too controversial. See, I like to read books and talk about them. And you love to watch my videos and never forget to like and comment. I know. And when we have such a situation going on, bringing talk of religion into it is risky. I mean, I already get way too many hate comments for calling mythological fiction genre mythological fiction. I mean, I don't know if people realize that the Indian Booktuber, aka me, didn't invent English or names of genres. Who's going to do all this explaining for me, huh? Anyway, keeping all this aside, I still want to tell you about Bahubali 63 Insights into Jainism by Devdutt Patnaik, another consistent Indian author who has done great work in his niche, even though I can personally not connect and admire his work because 1, I didn't enjoy the books I read. 2, I don't want to read the genre he mostly writes in. I think if you like Devdutt Patnaik, you should check out his new release. Honestly speaking, it's very hard to find interesting fiction book releases in India these days. And I have been looking around for months. If you're a publisher or author coming out with some interesting books, just shoot me an email at indianbooktuber@gmail.com about your book. I would be very grateful for that. But otherwise, it is very true that India is mostly reading self-help. And I love self-help books. But it's actually sad that as Indians, we are still so behind when it comes to promoting fiction reading. It was about 10-15 years ago when I was starting reading novels and so many of my relatives had objected to it. Why is this girl reading novels? That's bad. What's bad is the mentality, that lack of awareness on how powerful fiction can be. Most of my quality of life today, the job I have, the career I have, the skills I have can be attributed to reading fiction. Not those self-help books, but pure fiction reads for fun that can also be used for gaining language skills, communication skills, understanding people, emotion control, and much more. The only thing I wish I had done better is always keeping in touch with reading. I wish I kept up my reading volume like back in 2016-17 and I would have been years ahead in my life today. The things I regret. Anyway, coming back to new book releases, the book 3 in the Sindbad series by Kevin Missel came out this year. I read the first book but have yet to get around to reading the second one. Kevin is another very consistent author who's passionate about Indian mythology and fantasy and continues churning out good content in the form of books. That's one of the reasons I have supported and loved his books over the years. Whether it's being one of the first few readers of the enormous bestseller Kalki trilogy or his other works like Karan, Meghnad, and even the Narsimha trilogy. Another notable novel that came out this year is The East Indian by Brinda Cherry. This is a historical fiction. The author moved to US in 1999 and has been living there ever since. This was published in United States. So technically you could say it's not really an Indian book, but hey, it's interesting. It's a story of this boy who's kidnapped and transported to the new world from the streets of India. The book is being praised a lot and I thought I should definitely tell you about it. One more exciting book I want to highlight in this video is Delhi by Vineet Bajpai. It's again the final book in a trilogy, the Delhi trilogy. It's historical fiction. Of course, you know Vineet Bajpai already. His Harappa trilogy was a huge hit. I tried reading it. I still want to finish the trilogy one day. I will do it. But I think this may be even more interesting to me. I'm just thrilled that there's more historical fiction being written by Indian authors because we have such a rich history. And okay, jumping into controversial territory now, but see, I love mythological fiction, and I know a lot of mythological fiction could or should not, I don't know, be historical fiction. But the thing with mythological fiction genre is it gets repetitive after a point. Either it's a retelling of Ramayana and Mahabharata, there's some amazing books out there of that, but how many can you read before you feel bored of the same story retold in a tiny bit different way, right? And then the more fantastical ones, they are always about good versus evil. Honestly, that's an even more controversial statement because aren't all stories good versus evil at the very base of it? They're really not, but still, you know, those type of stories. Debatable, but my point is, India has thousands of years of history, some recent, some very old, and I want to read books that cover all of that. Hence, I like this trilogy, which is more related to recent history than like, you know, thousands of years of old history. Anyway, this is it for this video. Hopefully, I introduced you to a couple of new titles. I hope you enjoyed watching it. Hit like and comment below with what you want to see next. Thanks for watching.